Welcome back to the Aubergine Chef. Now today we'll be making coconut macaroons. And these coconut macaroons are a little bit different than some other ones. Some are made with a meringue and they're baked, so it's more like a meringue cookie, and others only contain coconut. Well, this one's actually going to contain a little bit of almond meal or almond flour. Now if you can't find almond flour or almond meal in your grocery store, what you can do is you can buy, let's say, 6 ounces of slivered almonds, toast in the oven, just toast it in the oven for 400 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then in a food processor, put in a couple tablespoons of powdered sugar or granulated sugar, and then grind it up really, really fine until it's almost like a powder. Now you want to make sure you do it with sugar or something to dry it up at least, maybe like cornstarch if you really are grasping for straws, but you should have at least granulated sugar. Because if you don't, what may end up happening is that your almonds may not be dry enough and they might still have some moisture, or the fat content in them will actually end up turning it into more of a paste or more like an almond butter. So the sugar, or the powdered sugar, especially the powdered sugar, works really, really well. It helps absorb some of that moisture, some of the fat, so that way you end up with a more powdery product. That's only if you can't find almond meal. So one of the first things you want to do is you want to go ahead and get your sheet pan ready. It's just a regular sheet pan, no grease on it, piece of parchment paper. Preheat your oven to 360 degrees. You also want to go ahead and get a double boiler ready, a pot of water boiling with a couple inches, maybe like 3 inches of water in it. And we're going to go ahead and go over the ingredients. I've already measured them out, but we're going to go ahead and go over what I've weighed out. Okay, so here I have 7 egg whites. I'm going to get another one, so 8 egg whites altogether. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to separate an egg, in case you don't remember from my other episodes. Just slowly crack open the egg, let the egg white drip through, and pass the yolk back and forth carefully, trying not to break it. Now since we're not making a meringue, it's not super essential to make sure that you don't have any egg yolk in your egg white, but try to keep out as much egg yolk as you can. And it's a good idea to do it in a separate bowl when you're doing a large amount like this, so that way if something's wrong with the egg, or if you mess up and break the yolk entirely and you can't separate it, at least you haven't tainted the whole other egg yolks, or egg whites. So go ahead and add that. Okay, and so in this bowl, I have 1 pound of the coconut flakes that you find in the grocery store, 2.5 ounces of all-purpose flour, and 4.5 ounces of almond meal, or the ground up almonds and powdered sugar that you may have made. I also have 1 pound, 4 ounces of granulated sugar, and with that we have all our ingredients weighed out. So the first thing you want to do is add your granulated sugar to your egg whites. Go ahead and stir them together. Get all your get all your sugar wet with the egg whites. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cook this on the double boiler until it reaches 120 degrees. So let's go on over to the double boiler. Okay, so once you have your water boiling, go ahead and reduce the temperature. And then what you want to do is you want to continuously stir your egg whites with the sugar in it. This will make sure that the egg whites warm up evenly. Okay, so once you reach 120 degrees, go ahead and take this off the stove, but don't turn off your double boiler. Okay, so at this point you want to go ahead and stir in the rest of your ingredients. Okay, once all your ingredients are mixed in, we're going to go back to the double boiler and cook it until it reaches 110 degrees. Okay, once your coconut macaroon mixture has reached 110 degrees, go ahead and take it off the double boiler, and you can turn off the double boiler this time because we're ready to portion out the cookies. And actually, the first thing you want to do before you portion out your cookies is you actually want to let your coconut macaroons rest, or your macaroon mixture rest, while it's covered up with plastic wrap. You want to rest it for about 5 minutes, and then it'll be ready to work with. Okay, now that your coconut macaroon mixture has rested for about 5 minutes, go ahead and give it a good stir. And then we're ready to scoop it onto our sheet pans. Now, this actually makes a lot more than I thought it did, so what we're going to end up having to do is we're going to double pan our sheet pans. So we have 2 sheet pans here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it on 2 sheet pans. So I have 4 sheet pans altogether. That way I can bake them at the same time. And the double sheet pan helps prevent them from being burned on the bottom. We're also going to rotate it halfway through. They're going to bake for 12 minutes. So 6 minutes or 7 minutes in, we're going to switch the places of the pans in the oven, so that way one that was on the bottom is now at the top, the one that was at the top is now at the bottom. And that'll help also prevent the ones from burning on the bottom of the burning on the bottom. So to portion them out, you want to use a spoon because this macaroon mixture is really, really sticky. And you just want to scoop it right onto your sheet pan. It doesn't have to be a tight ball or anything like that. You can bake them in pretty much any shape you want, as long as it can hold it anyway. You can poke a hole in the middle of it and fill it with chocolate or a fruit filling. You can also dip them in chocolate on the bottom. They're really easy to handle once they're all dry and baked. But whatever you do, just make sure that they're all the same shape or similar shape and size, so that way they bake evenly. Okay, so go ahead and finish portioning out your coconut macaroons and put them in the oven. Remember, the oven is at 360 degrees, 350 if you're not sure, but 360 is optimal. And we're going to bake them for about 12 minutes, swapping the pan's positions in the oven 6 minutes in. Okay, so our coconut macaroons came out of the oven. They are a little bit dark around the edges, but if you notice that some of them spread a little bit, and you want to make sure that you separate them before they get cool, because if they get cool, they become a little harder to spread. Or harder to separate, I should say. Sorry. Otherwise, they're really easy. So make sure you separate your coconut macaroons, and we're going to go ahead and let them cool all the way down to room temperature on the pans. There's no need to take them off unless they're really dark. But they're also really soft at this point, so be careful if you're trying to take them off the sheet pans right away. Okay, and that's how you make coconut macaroons. Now remember, they're stiff enough that you can pick them up and dip them in chocolate now. So if you want to finish them off by doing something different with them, like dipping them in chocolate, you can go ahead and do that. They're not as squishy as they were when we were mixing with the mixture, the coconut and the egg white mixture. Remember that you can download the recipe and all the recipes that I do on my website, www.theauberginechef.com. I hope you learned a lot today. Thanks for watching, and remember, the Aubergine Chef, demystifying dessert one recipe at a time.